minutes. All right, so like I said, from a news standpoint, not a lot going on. Again, it's the beginning of the year. Things are just kind of picking up again. I did see this news posting from WordPress core regarding the next version of WordPress, which is right now kind of scheduled for April of 2026. But one thing to be aware of is, they've been doing this in the past couple of years or so, is trying to increase the minimum version of PHP that's supported. So with 7.0, the next version of WordPress, just FYI, if you have some sites running on old hosting, etc., WordPress PHP 7.2 and 7.3 are not going to be supported. So again, according to the WordPress core team, the reason they do that is to ensure that WordPress is at a minimum supported version for long-term maintainability, security, etc., etc. So in many cases, if you've been keeping your plugins updated up to this point, or if you've been just following all the latest core releases, you probably should be okay. But I do have a couple of clients who are running on older hosting, so we can talk a little bit later about how to safely, check if your site is compatible with the newer version of WordPress. But this is just kind of FYI coming up in April 2026. And again, from a news standpoint, it's fairly light this time of year. But I did want to point people to, anytime you want to subscribe, let's say, to a really good source for the latest WordPress news. Peter put me onto this one. It's called the repository. So the repository .email, I believe, is the URL, and I'll put this in the chat afterwards too. So, if you go to the main site, you can always go there anytime and view kind of the latest news. But you can also subscribe to their newsletter as well. I believe it's sent out weekly, as I recall. And that's just another good place too to kind of get familiar with any news that's happening in the community. So things are quiet right now in terms of just, again, the year is kicked off. So it's a little bit quiet time in terms of news. How about a tool or plugin spotlight? Peter, you got anything for us?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. Let me, I've, excuse me if I cough a lot. I'm still at the lingering.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Excuse me. I got to hit. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, I can. Yep.
This is OG Preview Lab. Now, for people who spend any time with WordPress community things and podcasts and streaming video and all, there's a very excellent person. Her name is Courtney Robertson. She works for GoDaddy. She's very visible and does a lot of neat things. She built this tool. It is a work in progress. And it's the OG Preview Lab, which is for checking out open graph images. And it's something that I kind of come back to, because when people are sharing posts, putting it in your LinkedIn feed or your Twitter or Facebook or Mastodon or Blue Sky or whatever you may be sharing, I would think LinkedIn and Twitter are still where people are, depending on where your affinity is. But anyway, so she's in the process of building it. It's kind of interesting to see what the process has done. One of the things, just for those who are interested, that I'm kind of interested in looking further into is, so it's Courtney Robertson. If you can, this was built with the GoDaddy Arrow app builder, which is something I haven't tried yet, but it is something it wants me to sign in, but it is an app builder with GoDaddy using artificial intelligence and things like that, and she built this app with it. So what is it? So it's something where, if you've got a post, I'm looking at one of our demo websites here. I'm grabbing the URL, and if you want to say, if I'm going to share that, what is it going to look on different in different social media things? So I'm going to click my analyze button here, and it's going to show me that in Facebook it'll look like this, in X it'll look, and you could say, that is not what I want it to look like, and why. So this is kind of, and we could probably do a whole thing on open graph images and different ways to create them. So this is kind of a crash course in it, but using this tool here, which I will put in the chat at the end. I don't want to mess up where I am. You can take a look. So now, here's what's kind of interesting. I'll go right into this. And the first thing I'm going to do is, when I look at this post, I can see it. So why does it look like that? Well, because I'm not outputting any open graph images in any kind of particular way. Some themes take control of it. I'm going to use a plugin that I like. We have different plugins that we like for these. I like Slim SEO. SEO Press is another one, but a lot of the SEO plugins have a way to take the Open Graph information and send it through. So I'm going to go and I'm going to activate it. I've got it installed, and you'll see the first thing, and then I'll do another step just so you could see using this tool and kind of a crash course. If I go to my Slim SEO, this is a test site, so there's lots and lots of plugins that I play with here. Slim right here. I'm going to activate it. And just by activating it, if I come back here to the OG Preview Lab, and then reanalyze the site, I should now see a difference. Now I'm seeing the featured image because Slim SEO by default says when you're sharing something, what's the image we're going to show? Let's show the featured image. But you can also then, if I were to go to this to the post itself, so let me go back to the page where it is. At the home page, I'm clicking, and now I'm going to edit this post. With your SEO tools that you have. So right now I'm using Slim. It's activated, and I'm going to go and set my Facebook image. It should be able to pull. I've already uploaded. This is not the fastest server. I've already uploaded an authored, and this is where I think it might be fun to do a whole thing just on open graph stuff, because there's some interesting tools for dynamically generating things. This I just did in a quick editing program, Photoshop in this case. I'm still kind of hanging on, although I'm using plenty of other tools now. So now that I've saved this other image to this post as the Facebook image, as the social media, and you can put in a separate one for Twitter. So these will be the defaults. Now, when I come to analyze this, I should see this is now my modified image. And again, if I were to share this in social media, I'm not going to do it right now, but now this is giving me a preview of what I would see. And again, as Courtney is putting these things together, one of the things I'm kind of curious about when you go to see the details, this is telling you basically the data that it's getting to show these images. Not perfect. I'm not sure where it's telling you where it's getting things, but the bottom line is there's a few other tools out there for taking a look at your open graph images on various social media platforms. And it's kind of when you first go there, and if you haven't checked it, you go, oh boy, that does not show well when I'm sharing my stuff. So this is a neat way to show you that one, you could check it. Two, using something like if it's not already built into your theme, something like an SEO plugin like Slim SEO, SEO Press. You can assign, you can have a default image like your featured image, or actually assign on a per post basis a custom image. So that is the Open Graph Preview Lab.
Very neat. You said, so this is still a work in progress too? She's still adding?
Yeah, and why I say that is because like she's got, and I know Courtney, but like doing bulk things, but this didn't work when I tried it. It kind of hung up. And then here's something kind of interesting. You can see the history, and these are all the ones that I'm looking at, but you can see what other people were kind of checking out too, which is kind of interesting. And I guess you go in there and you delete the ones that you don't want. So she's adding these features that are above and beyond some of the other tools that are out there. So yeah, it has changed already since she just shared this on one of the on the WP Builds Monday streaming. They do a video podcast that they stream live, and she shared that, and I thought, oh, that's a neat one, because it really gets into a whole lot of the sites out there. I'll show you another one that I did. This was and I fixed it. This is a site I work on with a friend of mine, and when I analyzed that, it was not great. It was just the logo, but I changed it now to be a custom one, and this actually used um, a tool that does some dynamic stuff. So it was just like I picked a template and it grabbed the featured image and put the title and everything kind of in there. So again, for a future, but yeah, it kind of first reminded me that I hadn't taken care of this for Rob, my friend Rob here, and so I did.
Very neat. Excellent. Cool. Thanks, Peter.
You got it.
All right. Well, so let's kick things off. Like I said, so this is going to be a well, let me share I'm going to share the what everyone signed up for, so we can talk about this a little bit. So again, for folks who've been following our group and participating for a while, we've kind of changed our format a little bit, I'd say, of our meetups over time. We used to be very much more formal presentations of slides and sometimes barely able to fit everything into the 2 hours. Again, back pre-COVID, we used to meet in person. So, we've changed our format over time. And I think that's something that just, to be honest, makes it fresh for us, hopefully for everyone who attends, et cetera, et cetera. So tonight's meetup was, Peter and I always discuss what we're going to talk about, beforehand and all that. So tonight's meetup, I think it's something we've bounced around a little bit before. So I'm giving this whole preamble to it to say that this might be something that we do a bit more frequently. Maybe not every month, but something that we'd like to see how it works tonight, and then obviously try to extend this more into the year. So the thought behind this is, there's a lot of times where there's things that we encounter, and I'm speaking for Peter and myself, and I'm sure a lot of people on here too, where if you're dealing with either your own site or client sites, or again, whether you're getting paid to work on somebody's site or it's a volunteer, I kind of do a mix of both. You sometimes run into, I'd say, issues or things that are just, they're not like a straight cut and dried problem. They may not be something that's huge enough that, like in our case, really warrants a full presentation on. But there are these little, to me, to be honest, I think these are the day-to-day things that most developers or WordPress admins or webmasters, this is kind of what you deal with, especially if you're dealing with more than one site. And even with one site, depending on the complexity, these are the kind of things that maybe you encounter over time. So what we discussed, Peter and myself, is let's bring some of these things to you guys to our meetup here for discussion, and really not just show you the solution, because one of the things, like we say this all the time, is there's, especially in WordPress, there's many different solutions to any given problem. Many. Sometimes that's overwhelming for beginners. I think that is one thing that throws people off. It's like, they're like, tell me the solution. And it's always the consultant's answer, it depends.
Mhm.
So we'll give some background for some of these, and some of these are not going to be, like I said, these are not going to be super earth-shattering things. Some of you may have encountered them before, and I'm hoping we get some discussion tonight where I may show a solution that I applied to something, and I'm really hoping somebody comes back and says, "Hey, you dummy, you could have done it this way," or oh, don't call me
Yep.
a dummy, but like, "Hey, there's another way to do this. There's a simpler way, or you didn't need to do that." So we're hoping that this is kind of our compromise between, we always ask people to bring your websites, bring your issues, bring your questions here, and quite often I get it, it's we don't always get good feedback there. Sometimes we do, and that's some of our most fun sessions. So anyway, with all that having been said, what we're going to do tonight is really just between Peter and myself. We're going to kind of lead the discussion by showing some examples of things, again, these problems, if you will, or whatever they are. But what I really want to do too is, besides kind of showing, code and all that, is kind of talk through how each of us thought of the solutions, things we tried, what worked, what didn't work, what paid off, any compromises and trade-offs, etc. And I'm hoping as we're going through this, again, you can unmute yourselves or put in the chat, raise your hand, whatever. We really want you to participate too, and say, hey, have you encountered something like this before? How did you solve it? Or, something similar to it. And then again, if we have time at the end, I think you'll start to get what we're talking about of these real world problems. We'd love to hear any other ones that you're working on. So again, these are the ones that are more top of mind for us. That's another thing that Ken, Peter, and I said, like, my examples I'll show you, to be honest, are things I've just encountered in the past 2 weeks of just working on stuff. One of them was a few weeks ago. So for me, they're very fresh. And some of them, to be honest, I'm not even sure I have the best answer yet. So I'm kind of selfishly using this to say, hey, is there something better I could be doing? So, yeah, Peter, anything else you want to give is the precursor to all this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I I would love to get more of like folks saying I'm running into a problem, and then we can kind of go into our minds and think about, well, how we did it, or what might what approach we have or might take. So we talked about this being a way to say, well, let's begin that process by presenting something, see if folks, if things are similar. Like right now, a lot of my current problem solving, and we're not going to spend any time on that now, it would be like some of the stuff I'm doing with AI, but I'm also doing a lot of things where on the back end I want to I have this challenge that I'm doing something and it's just taking more time than I want. What can I do? And what are the different ways you can do it? And you can do that when you have built up some knowledge of the how things work. And granted, AI will take care of a lot of that for you too, which is why we always try to, as best we can, talk about how things work, just so it's like, okay, there's really just a database there. I mean, years ago, I would just extract the entire database, do a lot of work on something, and then, excuse me, and then re-import it and do things. The thing I'm going to show later on today is just, I had a client who had a problem. This was a while ago, and it was like, instead of trying to force them into a way, I took it different. I thought about it from their perspective. So that's a difference. So sometimes it's a technical thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a how are you interacting with a customer, or doing it yourself, and are you just doing things harder than you need to,
Yeah.
and so I think it'll be fun to explore that. I'd like to do a lot more of that going forward.
And we're hoping, again, we'll kick off and say these are going to be kind of little bite-sized things too. So that's the other thing too, from our format standpoint too, just like many of you, we've all been attending Zooms for so long. We still have this thing blocked out for 2 hours, but we're still trying to keep our meetups. We're trying to, in 2026, keep our meetups down to 90 minutes if possible. Again, just to be respectful of people's times and everyone's attention and things like that. So without further ado, that's enough of it. Just again, we want to get your feedback on this too. So, folks, especially the regulars who've been with us, let us know. And I'm really hoping too, if we make this a regular thing, you bring your stuff here. We definitely want to hear from others too. I mean, we always have things to share, but I love the ones we have more interaction with everybody. So, hey, anyway, having said that, I'll start off first, Peter, if that's okay, because I'll do one that's probably pretty short, again, like 10, 15 minutes or so. Then we'll bounce it back and forth between us and hopefully get some discussion. So the way I structure this, because you know me, I'm anal about this is I don't want to call these case studies because it sounds a little too academic, but it's kind of what it is. So for each one of mine, and this is more for me, just so I remember them, and I wrote down, what's the problem, blah, 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 some kind of background stuff. So anyway, this one, we were talking earlier before folks joined about, many of us support nonprofit organizations. Some of us volunteer, some get paid, or a mix of both. So one thing you've probably encountered is, a nonprofit has some kind of payment form for donations, or maybe they're putting on an event. I work with a couple of organizations who have membership. They're nonprofits, but they have membership-based things. And one thing that they come back to quite often is, I'll set up either the site for them for free, or just try to, get it as cheap as possible. And because money is very important to nonprofits, they're wondering. I had this request come back a while ago to say, hey, is there any way we can have the donor, somebody who's donating, have them cover that credit card processing fee, pass it on to the customer. They say, yes, well, we'd be happy to pay that. So, again, just from a background standpoint, the nonprofit, they've got a donation form, let's say, they want people to cover the credit card processing fee. Otherwise, if they don't do this, then they lose that money on the back end. So if somebody donates $20, for example, and we're using Stripe or PayPal, a few dollars of that will get lost in fees. So in the example site that I was working on, this is something I built for a client. So it's using Cadence. Again, we talk about Cadence a lot. So the free version of Cadence theme. Fluent Forms, I have a lifetime license, so I'm sharing my Fluent Forms Pro license with them. And then for a payment standpoint, they're just using basic Stripe for donations. So again, what's the problem? If anyone's familiar with Fluent Forms, at least we've talked about here a few times, there is no like flip a switch built-in functionality to say, hey, I want to pass this charge on to my customer. So let me just show a real, I'll be working this example as we're talking through this a little bit. So here's my very, very simple donation form demo. So, imagine this, in this case, I'm saying membership, but it doesn't matter. So somebody puts their name in here, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And let's say that they're going to donate, $30. Well, so that $30 right now, once they submit the form payment to Stripe, they're only going to receive $29, based on the Stripe calculation. So, this for me, the challenge was, okay, there's no built-in way to do it, but I know there's got to be a way to do it. I've seen it. I've seen other people do this kind of thing before. So it seemed a matter of, okay, I need to figure out if you go to Stripe and other PayPal, different payment gateways are similar. I looked at, all right, what's their actual transaction fee? It's 2.9% plus 30 cents per per transaction. That's what they take off on the back end. So just talking through my thought process, at least about researching this a little bit, how could I solve this? Well, one is I know that built in natively to Fluid Forms, there's nothing that was like, again, flip a switch kind of easy solution. So maybe there's other plugins that do that. Maybe Gravity Forms or something else. And I'll be curious if other people, that's what I'm hoping someone says, hey, you dummy, there is one that does this magic, flip a switch and you do it for you. But Fluid Forms, at least, there's nothing in it currently that will do this natively. The other option I was looking at was, well, maybe I can instead, because Stripe knows, if you think about the way that this form works, this was not connected to Stripe right now, but somebody would put in their credit card information here, it's in line, and you hit the submit button, it goes off to Stripe. Well, the way the form works today, that's too late to pass on the fees to somebody. It already is kind of beyond the website. Well, maybe I could actually build the donation form in Stripe, and maybe Stripe has some way to calculate and pass on the fees, and then I would embed that, Stripe form into here. The thing I don't like about that then is I lose all of the benefits of Fluent Forms and having a form plugin on WordPress. So that to me wasn't really a viable solution. And again, the one about why wouldn't I go to another plugin? Hopefully there's people in the chat saying, you dummy, this one would do it. It's because I already set all these other forms in there. I don't want double forms in this thing. This Float Forms is good. It's been so far good for 100% of what they've wanted. So I knew there had to be a way. So, and again, this is my thought process about it. Some of it is, well, where do you find out how to actually do it? Well, Fluent Forms is a pretty good. It's been around, I'd say, how many years, Peter? Maybe at least 4 years or so. I'd say maybe a little bit longer
Sounds
than
about
that.
right. Yeah, the Fluent suite has been adding a lot of things like crazy, but that was one that was a big
That
one.
was their, I think
Big,
the forums was kind of their first thing. So they have a decent community. So there's a couple of places you can go. You can go to, again, if you have the pro version, they have their own community portal thing. I'll just click on it just to show you. So they have this for each one of their products, and they have help documentation, et cetera, et cetera. But again, back to real world problem. One of the issues I always have, and I've been doing this again, software developer for 25-ish years or so. Sometimes the hardest thing is describing and articulating the problem. Like, what is this problem? It's the passing on payment fees to customers. So, when you start doing searches like that, so you get all these answers that have nothing to do with what you're searching for. And there's also a Fluent Forms Facebook group that ended up being my better resource, because within there, at least I saw a couple of posts that were similar to what I was asking for, but not entirely the same thing. But they at least nudged me on towards a couple of things. So, and that's where I'll kind of show you at least this solution in Fluent Form. So sometimes this is what it is. Back to the whole thing about AI. AI is great, but sometimes AI will send you off on a wild goose chase too if you don't know the right things you're prompting, or et cetera, et cetera. So I still think as a software developer, a WordPress developer, WordPress person, sometimes it really is just sometimes finding the right words, and then also understanding your tools and the capability of your tools, whether it's your plugins or themes, et cetera. So anyway, let me show you in terms of from a Fluent Forms standpoint. here's how to implement that kind of solution. So there's a couple things I did need. First of all, I did need to know this calculation, this 2.9% plus 30 cents. But within Fluent Forms, if people have ever used the free version, this is another thing. The free version isn't doesn't have this capability. You actually need the pro version in order to do this. So, and there's another little caveat in here too, which I don't know if I mentioned it in my context. Um, the client didn't want it just so that it's automatically charging the fees back to the donor. They want to give people the choice, to be nice and say, hey, do you want to? Is this okay? And they want to give people like, the option to say yes or no. So that brought another little wrinkle to it too. So I'm gonna show you just on that form that I showed earlier, and I have a version that the solution's complete in case I run into the old demo issue of things not working when I'm trying to do it live. But so here is the form. Really, really simple form I just showed. Again, just, little radio button, name, membership level, etc. So one of the first things I would need to do is add in something like a radio button to say, and again, you want to make it some kind of friendly message, say, do you want to cover our credit card processing fees, etc. So give them some motivation, let them say yes or no, we'll make it required. So it's, again, that's step number one, is almost saying, yeah, if they say, because if they say no, whatever, it continues on the way it is normally. What I needed then from the pro version is this additional field. So Fluent Forms comes with a bunch of these in the free version. The pro version gives you a lot more, including, excuse me, including a custom payment field. So it's a custom payment field. This is the one that's actually doing the magic. And I'll show, I don't know if I mentioned this too. So there's actually two wrinkles to this one. So this form has this drop down. This is one thing, this membership level. So they can choose $25, $10, etc. And they can do an additional donation amount on top of that too. So I needed a way to apply this fee and 2.9% to the total of those two things. So that was another slight wrinkle to it. So the additional, so the custom payment amount, this should be conditional. So that's one thing too. The entire calculation, again, is conditional on, yes, it's conditional. Fluent Forms has this nice little drop down to say, if the do you want to cover processing fees is equal to yes, then here's the magic. Again, the paid part is enable calculation. So they have some really good documentation about what you can do, in terms of fields you can use from the form to do this. So I may cheat in a second and jump to my form that has this completed. But basically, you put it in as a series of expressions. So in this case, it's like the membership level. So membership level, that's that input field, plus an output parentheses, because it is going to do math, plus the additional amount. So that's really the thing I want totaled. So I'll throw some parentheses around that, right? So it's going to be the total of these two, and then my calculation is going to be 2.9% plus 30 cents. So the 2.9% is 0.029 and plus 30 cents. And if I did all of my parentheses correct, we'll try this version. And again, I'm doing two things. I'm doing a demo and math on the fly. So let's see what this looks like. Now, if I go to my preview and design for this, so let's say somebody says, do you want to cover they're going to do a membership of 25 bucks. Do you want to cover the credit card processing fees? No. Then it works, right? Nothing different. If they say yes, I'm sorry, let's put in additional $5 of donation. So we got even 30 bucks. So if they say no, no calculation. But now, let's see, fingers crossed. If they say yes, oh, there we go. Ooh. So it did the $1.17. So that's the total of $30, which 2.9%. Trust me, plus 30 cents. So that 31.17 is the amount that will then get charged. So on the back end on Stripe, 31.17, they'll take their 2.9%. It'll basically wash off the fee. So the nonprofit will get the $30 roughly donated to it. So So that's it. That was their ask. But you can see it took a couple of things. Gene, you got your hand raised. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, on the line that says custom payment amount, can you change the
Yeah.
wording for that to say
Yes.
the fee?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So here I could
great.
say this is credit card fee. So let's save that. It's a very good question. And let me do another preview here. So yeah, let's just say they did $30, and yes, I want to cover it. Credit card fee. Yeah. So
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah. So one caveat here, I just saw this a couple of days ago with a client too, is it's not, so the fee isn't perfect. So remember what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to collect the fee up front, but meanwhile, but on the back end of Stripe, what Stripe is really going to do now is it's going to take $31.17 and apply this this same calculation to it. And the theory is when you subtract off that fee, you should get back to the $30, originally. It's not perfect. It's off by a couple of cents or so. So I think maybe I need an additional decimal point in there, some like 2.91, or I need to round it up to something else to really make sure I'm covering. So it's better than what they had before. It's not perfect, but again, a real world thing. So I'll shut up. Has anyone else encountered this before? Anyone else doing something with a nonprofit or another form where you've had to kind of collect the fee or allow people to collect the fee up front? Sue, I see
Yeah,
you're.
we did that on the site that I put into the chat. It's the donation page on the Firefighters Foundation,
Oh, okay.
and we did that in Gravity Forms, and it's the same concept that you take whatever they do, you calculate in Gravity Forms. It's called a calculation, and then you just add it to the total. And your goal is always to get their credit card to say $30. But when you get $30.02, but it's you can do it with any form program, but you're probably going to need the pro version
Right.
to get that calculation.
Right. So yeah, all right. So I'm glad I haven't used Gravity Forms in a while, Sue. So there is no magic button in Gravity Forms either. It's still
No,
implemented
but
that.
I think nonprofits pay 2.2% if they ask Stripe for it,
Right. Yeah.
because they pay 2.2 at PayPal.
Right. Yeah, that one I know exactly. So this one I think was set up a little bit earlier before I started working with them. So yeah, you're right. That could
Yeah.
be another thing too, to if they're trying to go after every penny, is to make sure
Yeah,
that
I've got politician candidates asking me why they can't get 2.2%.
they're you're technically not a nonprofit.
They
So
are definitely not.
so again, this is just more this is the first of the case studies, and hopefully this kind of fits into the theme of tonight. So real world problem. This is
Yeah.
one of those like you got the form plugin, but I wanted to do something that's a little bit quirky to what it normally does. I have a lot of, especially those of us who work with forms, you get a lot of these kind of edge case things. And this was not even that much of an edge case. I mean, to me, it's
There's one thing we
normal.
did, Ray, with a religious institution, and you give them money, and then instead of calculating how much the fee would be, if the fee is like a $1.75 or 79, you just give them the option to pay $2. And then their credit card, you get more money, but their credit card has $32 on it.
Mm.
And so if you make the institution we work with use multiples of 18 because that fits their tradition. And we could get that to the next zero pretty easily.
So did you round it? Was there a calculation where you rounded up then to the
Yeah, we
nearest?
rounded up and it
Okay,
made
yeah.
credit cards better and the CPAs were happy.
And just
And
to
my
that,
goal, make CPAs
of
happy.
course, to that point, real quick, and I'll shut up and switch over to Peter in a second. But this calculation thing is pretty powerful. Like I said, it really can do. I think in here, hold on. There's the This might be, yeah, maybe, is it calculate expression? Oh, here it is, calculation documentation, sorry. So if you look at this real quick, again, and other form plugins probably do something very similar too, but if you look at the amount of expressions in here, you can do math, you can do sigma, pi, you can do log, root, many things I have no idea what these, oh, here's the round, yeah, so, and mins and maxes and all that. really, really powerful thing. And like you said, Sue, this is at least for Fluent Forms. You do need the pro version for this, but one of those like definitely well worth it. At least save money in the end. So that's my first real world problem.
Yeah, I'll continue the conversation about it though, because yeah, there are the forms plugins that offer all, and now we're getting into conversational forms and things like that. Again, something that we could spend more time on, but it is really interesting what you can do with I've done a few things with like combining stuff and concatenating things. I had a project, for example, where what I wanted to do is create something that if you said, oh, I'm interested in this theme and these plugins and whatever, and now things are a little bit different. It's kind of maybe not even needed, but just by picking it up from the form, then when you generated the form, you got a URL that opened up a WordPress playground instance with everything that you told it you wanted it to do, just by kind of picking off of a list and things like that. And that's all again, form based. Using Fluent Forms, used to do some things with Gravity Forms. WS Forms is great for that, but it gets a fantastic tool, but depending on what you need can get a little pricey. I haven't experimented yet with the one I mentioned earlier called FormGen, which apparently has a lot of these features in for free. And the reason I'm talking about forms is we did have, and forgive me about the name pronunciation, Yali had
Yeah, I saw Yali's
comment
thing
about
there.
forms, and maybe while we're talking about forms and it's kind of in their mind, I want to bring that up now.
Yeah, definitely we could. So Yali, we saw your thing on there in terms of you're having a problem with the contact form. What can you tell us a little bit more about that? What kind of problem you having? And you're on mute. So if you're talking, you can take yourself off mute.
And if not, that's okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, feel free to put it in the chat too. But yeah, why don't you go ahead, Peter, and I'll say I'll respond back.
Yeah. So the thing I was going to present is very different, but it just had to do with as I mentioned earlier. Now I've got way too many windows open, like usual, so I'll talk for a little bit, and then I'll get the right things open. But working with a nonprofit, and I've done this for a couple of clients that were kind of in a similar situation, which was that they're associations, so they're representing a number of other organizations within their association. So what they want to do is they want to promote the news, the events, all the things that are going on within all of the different organizations under that association. So approaching that kind of thing in terms of news and events, you're thinking WordPress posts and some kind of event calendar thing. So the typical thing to do, let me get a window open here, would be okay. I'm gonna post some news, and then I'm going to hang on, and then I am going to stall for a second. I got distracted.
I'm interested in this because I have the same kind of potential issue that you're going to be talking about. So I'm interested.
Okay, yeah. So the problem was it was a lot of work for somebody to go in there and kind of to build these things out. And I'll show you why in a second. And it's also very interesting in terms of something that I encountered. And I know that there's certain plugins that we've all many of us have relied on for a long time that now are becoming a little bit more or a little less reliant. Let me just grab the screen so you're not looking at my face here. Show that screen. This is just one of we have kind of a couple of test sites, and I was going to play with this site, kind of using it. But just say you wanted to set up events. I'll start with the easy one, which is linking to news. So I'm going to go to the dashboard of this test site, and there was a plugin that has now since been kind of abandoned. Very simple. This is something that you could probably just go to a Chat GPT or a Claude or something to code, but you don't even have to do that because the admin site enhancements has this in their free version. But the point being on the news side was what they were doing initially was like, okay, go create a post. So they create a post, and now they're copying and pasting from existing news or something that they got or a PDF file or something. And they were getting a lot of the information that they were going to post from the organization that's within the from their site. So basically they were duplicating the news posts and very often doing it in a cut and paste kind of thing. And it was really not optimal, right? So not optimal. So what we looked at is saying, well, why don't we just link out to their site? But you still wanted it in, they still want it in their news feed. They still wanted it in the kind of the news and events page, that type of thing. So the tool to use for that is either one of there may be still some other plugins out there, but in the admin and site enhancements, the ASE plugin, which is very popular plugin, a free version, a paid version, there is a toggle for open all external links in new tab. So when you click on that and you save it, because you have to do, it's kind of two steps. One is to kind of activate it. And then, no, I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong one. It's the permalink ones. Menu to open. External permalinks, sorry. That's external. External permalinks, that's the one we're going to turn on. And then we're going to say, let's make that active for posts. So for posts, we're going to say, we're going to have a post, but it's going to link not to the post on this website, but to an external site, another post. So when we save that, and now that's activated. If I go back to the site, to the front end of the site, just to pull up a simple post. So let's just say I'm going to go to this post here. Right? These are just, this demo site is using some content you may have seen because I use it on a couple demo sites. And now if I edit this post, I have now in my additional information meta box is the external permalink. So right now, just what I did from that page, when I clicked on it, I came to the post on this site. But let's just say I wanted to go to, let's see if I can find. That same post here. Oh, of course, it's going to be at the end. Should have opened it up. No, it's not even there. Well, I picked the wrong one. Doesn't matter. Let's just say this was the post I was actually linking to. All I have to do is grab this URL, copy it, and then now make it an external link. So this new box here is because that option within the admin enhancements plugin is turned on. And there is still that other plugin out there, which is referenced in ASC. It's kind of nice that he said this is the same as this. It hasn't been updated in a long time, so now we have that tool. So now that should be saved. Now when I go back to this, now if I go the direct link, I'm going to see it. But what should happen is this was the one I went to, right?
Mm-hmm. You did Greenwich. It says something about Greenwich.
Sorry. I have to go. That's the original site.
Yeah.
If I go back to where I made that change, did I just mix up myself?
Yeah. Stay on this site.
Stay on this side. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Always ask why we get lost when we do things. Yeah. So now,
oh, interesting. Yeah.
it's going to go to, I didn't go to the same one, but now I'm going to the external. So instead of this link on this page going to the post here, it's going to just to the link that I put in. So all I really have to do for the post for this Hartford, the demo Hartford WP site, is put in the title, put in the link I want to link to, put in the excerpt, right? So grab the excerpt, and that should be something that we do for practice anyway. And the one thing that did take, they were grabbing the same featured image depending on how you're listing. If you're showing a featured image in your post listings, you want it. If you're not, you could just link to it. But they don't have to write all of the content here because they're just linking to wherever it was on that site and all. So that was a solution that says instead of having to figure out how to copy and paste and put all the stuff in and basically duplicate the content, they're just saying, here's the title, here's the excerpt, click on it, we'll bring you to the site where that originated. And that saved all time. Yep.
I was going to say, can I chime in for a moment here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, Peter. Hi, Ray.
Hi.
Fellow from Portland. I was going to offer up that that particular practice of doing that is not a good thing at all. Not only from an accessibility standpoint, because it's in violation of even going back to WCAG 1.0 from like 1999, 2000. Google, because of that, will see that as a negative ranking signal. And they, I mean, it's not a ranking factor, but they will take it into consideration as a ranking factor. So from an SEO standpoint and from an accessibility standpoint, I wouldn't do that. So, but if I can offer up here, that plugin that you were just showing there, the admin and site enhancements plugin, two thumbs up. I just love that. That's one of the best plugins that I've used. So
one of the things that I didn't introduce here is, in this particular case, I would use the accessibility plugin from it's the accessibility checker people, Amber Hines.
Amber Hines, yeah.
They have one so that you automatically turn on so that if it is an external link, you're going to get the symbol for the external link. And I wouldn't typically go to a new page. I think I accidentally clicked on make it go to a new page. You don't want to open up a new window. It should be on that.
It does. That feature within ASE automatically always opens it in a new by default. So just doesn't apply.
Which we don't want.
That's how it works. It's all good, right? The mechanism for what you're doing here is really strong. It's just that particular feature, which is, again, it's an SEO and accessibility thing. So I think you're double dinging, But.
Yeah. I mean, we could fix the accessibility thing, and I don't know. SEO is a really interesting topic these days in terms of what rules were and are.
Yeah.
And this is why we're having this conversation, by the way, because we're learning from folks too.
Totally.
In this particular case, though, we're basically, we're not duplicating the content. We're duplicating the title, but we're referencing to the same place. So I'd be really interested to see what the full impact is. It's much more important for the association in this case to make sure there's as many avenues into the content, and that if you're getting at it multiple ways, because it's certainly not in this particular case a situation where they're fighting against a lot of people for keywords, which by the way, I don't even.
Yeah.
I have a whole lot of opinions about where we are with SEO. That could be a great conversation and probably a pretty big debate because. Oh man, I'm not doing any websites and most of the stuff I'm doing anymore.
No, it's evolving quickly too.
Yeah.
Peter, I guess just so I understand what this thing was actually doing, is it really? If you go back to the original page, the Connecticut Discover one, so the image it was showing is still the image from the post on that website, but is it basically doing a redirect to the other post?
Yeah, basically what it does is when you look at the title, wherever that URL title would be to the post, it is placed by the other title. But
in the query loop here on the homepage, it's still taking the excerpt from the actual post on this site, right? It's
on
not.
this site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
All right.
so that's what I'm saying. There is, you would put the
Huh.
title. You could change the title because you're controlling the title, right?
Right. So
You
would
don't.
that be like the use case for these guys that they would basically, you said you don't want them to recreate this full post that's on another site, but would they still need to at least create this little shell of a post on
Yeah.
this site,
All they have to do, they would be creating a post that has the title,
the featured
an excerpt,
image?
and the featured image, or some image or a default image. Again, we've worked different ways depending on,
Right.
in some cases it might be, well, they're not going to use the featured image from the post. They're going to use the logo of the place that is posting it. So there's a lot of things you can do. And again, this is where we get into that whole, there's so many ways to do something. And then as long as folks can understand that there are options and that there are things that we can do in terms of, well, what is being shown? Is that what I want to show here? When I'm, that then you can decide. It's like, okay, they might say, well, that's too much work.
Right.
Because the other thing that I could do, and I don't know if you have another one and we can come back to it, had to do with the
Yeah.
way events were handled.
I'm sorry, say the last thing again. You had the way that what was handled?
Events.
Oh, events. Yeah.
Yeah. So just real quick with that. All right, we can spend all the time you want on it.
Well, let's hold that one for a second, Peter,
Okay,
because
you got
that's a
one?
new topic. I want to go. So, Yali, if you're still there, I saw
Yeah.
your post in the chat. So, can you explain that a little bit more? So, you have a form that you're submitting. Can I ask just, I guess, some more background too about the? Do you know anything about the form plugin that you're using for that?
So I just took the can I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hold on one second. Let me make it so that you can share. 1 second. I'll make it so. Here we go. You can now
Okay.
share.
So so can you
It's coming up, it looks like. Yeah. Yep, I can see it now.
see? So can you see only one window or the other one?
I can see both. We can see
Oh,
both
okay.
tabs. Yep.
So here is the like I went to the incognito here just to make sure, So I entered my name here, the email and a test message, and then that's what I get like here, and then this appears at the bottom.
Can you show so this site, do you have access to,
Yeah,
can you show us the back end of the site, or can you sign into the site as an
yeah.
admin?
So let me put that down here. So here it is.
I can't, yeah, we can't see now if you're sharing something different. If you have another window.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Mhm.
Sorry. I think I'll go back to this. I'll go back to the other one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Can you see?
Yeah, I think it's still coming up. This has started. May take a minute. I still don't see anything unless I'm the only one.
Oh, it says it paused the sharing. Okay.
Yeah, let me try it
Yeah.
again.
I'll try to share again.
So while we're working on that, Ray and all, the theme looks to be Cadence,
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Good.
but then Jetpack, Kismet, Video Press.
Yeah, so show us if you don't mind, yeah, show us the plugins first. So that form, I'm curious, oops, you jumped it. Yeah, go. Yeah, and show installed plugins if you don't mind. So Jetpack, page optimized, plugin site. I wonder if it's Jetpack, if that's the form. I know you do.
Cadence has a form tool,
Oh, that's true. Good point. Good point,
and
Sue.
then she's got the pro on there.
Yeah. So Yali, can you show us that page again? Can you open it up through, yeah, and then we can maybe just look at the editor of that page.
Yeah, so it did.
Go to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
contact
bring up the
page.
page. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
And then if you can click on the form itself, where the form is.
Actually, that was the other page.
Yep.
Can you still see?
Yeah, if you click on contact,
Okay.
now click edit page here. Yep. And then click on the contact us block.
Right there, right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So what is it? Can you click on one of the fields in there? Yeah, like you click on like the name field, for example.
If you click on the outline next
Yeah.
to design library,
I'm trying to do it from my desk.
Yeah,
yeah,
that one.
click
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because that'll show us what this
All right.
is. Oh, it is a form. Okay.
And
Yeah.
click on the word form.
Yes.
Okay, whose form is that? That's a Cadence form, isn't it?
Yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
not
So
that.
what I did is when I did it, I just went to design library and
Right.
I just
Right.
picked
So
Okay.
can you I haven't
Action
used
after submit.
yeah, action exactly. Yeah, so see in the on the right-hand side, Dahlia, it says action after submit. Can you click that arrow down? So confirmation type text, thank you for your message. It shows a summary of the message. I think that's what's showing you the text back.
so I should do that.
Yeah, save that and then go look at the front of the page again and open it in a new tab. Yeah. And go ahead and fill out the form and see what happens.
Yeah, it'll just say
Yeah.
thank you
Oh,
for your
okay.
response.
So it says thank you for your response.
But
Yeah.
it shows the form again, and that's what you don't want.
You should be able to edit all that. So you see all this
Okay.
these like confirmation type text. There's the message. You can change that message. Thank you for your response. But the things I think you're really going to want to do are responses, storage, or integrations.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that that's going to the right place. Like I've never used the
Open that little, and
Yeah.
save the responses. That's good.
So I know a number of us are talking, but in this case, what I like to do is go to have a new page that's the thank you page, putting whatever else you want, and that's where you click under the confirmation type is a redirect link, and then you give the link to the thank you page. Because it'll either do it in that same form where now it's the
Right.
thank you and then the form is reloading. But
Yeah, so Yali, if you don't want people sitting there just like after they submitted, if you don't want them sitting there on that blank form again, like Peter was saying, you may want to create another page that says like, thank you for submitting your form. And then in here, you see where it says redirect link under confirmation
Here?
type. Yeah, if you click on that button, that will let you point it to that other thank you page. So
Oh,
it'll be
okay.
cleaner. They'll say thank you, they submit the form, and now
Yeah.
whatever else
Yeah,
you
we're
want.
so happy you can, we'll get in touch with you as soon as we can, whatever you want to say. But that
Okay.
gives you complete control over the thank you message and
Yeah.
gets you off the form and kind of.
And David, I was gonna say, you took the words out of my mouth. And David has a good point too. That also lets you, from an analytics standpoint too, you can count that now. You can see how many people are going to the thank you page. So that's a good reason to do it that way too. If they just stay on the same page, you can count submissions, but from a like Google Analytics standpoint, you can see, oh, how many times people completed the form.
Okay, got
Make
it.
sense?
Okay.
Yeah, so to
Great.
summarize, saying you would create a new page
Yeah.
that would just have whatever, the thank you message, something, whatever you want to say. And then for this form, you would put under where you have redirect link, you would have the link to that new page that you are yet to create your thing.
Okay, but my just a question if I do
Yeah.
this, because I have a bilingual website.
Yes.
So if I go, do I have to, I do that twice because I link to the French page and the English page, and it will work.
Yeah. Are you creating a separate page, two pages for?
Yeah, for all my pages, they
Okay,
are in both English and French. So
gotcha.
Yes.
I create in French first, and then I just add an English
Yes.
one.
Yeah. If you, I forget what that plugin is. If you're using was it WPML or something like that? If you're using,
Yeah,
Polylang,
yeah, or Polylang, yeah.
Polylang is another one. Yeah.
So yeah, you would want to create two, because yeah, you'd want two separate thank yous in different languages, thank you pages in
right?
different languages too.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you've got a oh, no, that causes a problem. Well, your form,
No, because
are
each one
you
of them is on a separate page. She has two different contact forms, one on
okay?
the
That's
French
that.
version, one the
You're
English
right. You're
version.
right.
Yeah,
Because it's just it's a block. Right.
yeah,
So yeah, one the name is English here, and the other one like that in French.
yeah, yeah. So that's it.
I'm a big
Okay.
fan of Quebec.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Um, one other thing that's helpful for either a thank you page or a contact page is set expectations for how long it's going to be before you get back to them.
Very
Okay.
good point. Yeah, we'll be in touch with you. I like doing the vague soon. It
Yeah.
depends on what's being submitted and when. But yes, that's a
It's
very good.
all the thing about thank you pages too, that why I always use them, is because there's so many times when I'll be on a site, enter a form, and I'm like, did anything happen? Because you really, for that very reason, either the form stays or whatever. This is there's a lot of confirmation, and depending on now you're using the cadence one, which is fine. If you used a different one, you could even do things like bring the name over. Hey, thank you, Peter. I appreciate, there's a lot of things that you can do with that page, far beyond what we need to talk about now, other than the fact that there are many ways to do things, and there's a lot of options.
I will say, just a real quick discussion is the pros and cons of using a form that's a block versus a form plugin. Like in your case, the contact one is probably good enough. I don't have enough experience with the Cadence one, but it does seem like Cadence is actually storing the responses someplace
I think it
where
is. Yeah.
where you can view it.
Yeah, when I go back to when I go to the back end, I go to the Jetpack and I see the
The
I see
responses.
the email. Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah, because I know, like for example, when I used Divi, like the other ones, you'd submit them. There was no repository to see those things. They just you hope they went off there in the ether. So yeah, Cadence seems a bit again, it's better in many ways. At least it allows you to do more hooks. So, but yeah, like the Fluent Forms ones, those kind of, I just tend to use those these days. I'm more familiar with them, and yeah, but that one seems good that you did.
Interesting how you can I get thrown. I'll be on site and going, none of there's no table of form entries, and I'm
Yeah,
so used to having that. So when it's missing, I'm like, oh my goodness, what do you do? But
right,
you go back to your emails in some cases,
right.
right? So that whole thing. So
That was great. So this is our good introduction.
yeah, no, perfect.
So, and again, just a reminder, we're only gonna do this for 90 minutes now, so we're already almost over. I'm trying to
Yeah,
sleep. But I'll
thank
do
you.
another. I'm gonna do another real quick one. Thank you, Ollie. That was excellent. I'll do another real quick one that I probably don't have a great answer for, but this one isn't so much. This one isn't even so much a WordPress thing. It's more of I'm in the middle of this, so I'd love to hear others' thoughts on that. And I'll tee this one up real quick, Peter, and then
yeah,
yours. If you have a few minutes, we can do whatever last one or so that you
yeah.
have. But so here's my use case or my challenge. Sorry. So I'm in the middle once again. I seem to inherit these things. Another volunteer one I'm doing for this other nonprofit organization. It's an old HTML site built long time ago, all HTML pages, et cetera, et cetera. I'm rebuilding in WordPress using Cadence, all my usual toolbox of things. But they have a lot of pages on the site. I'm just showing one of them. They have a lot of pages that are very, very text heavy, a lot of text, which is not a bad thing. From an SEO standpoint, not a bad thing having lots of text as long as it's good text. So it is good detailed information. But again, as I'm rebuilding the site now, there's a couple of challenges. First off, I want it to be easier to read. I'll show you what the text looks like. But also I want it to be better on mobile devices and just restructure it. That's been one of the complaints that the board had is that the navigation of the site in general is difficult, but reading some stuff over time, you can see they've added information. So this one to me, I'm throwing this out there as a challenge. It's not really even specific to WordPress, to be honest. This is just revising content over time, but I don't want to lose the value of the content. So, yeah, again, just the setup. I'm Cadence. I mentioned Cadence blocks. I'm using Pro, etc. And there's many different ways to accomplish this goal. A lot of different pros and cons. My overall thinking is, I have a lot of work to do on the site. I don't want to spend days and days on every page. Like, I want a solution that basically works and I can apply it across the board. Something simple, because I know eventually other people will take over the site. I don't make it overly complicated, etc. That's my criteria for doing this. But there are a lot of different options. I'll just talk about three of them kind of quickly. One of them is I could take this big page. So I'm sorry, let me show you the page first. Maybe that'll help the discussion a little bit too. So this is the site. It's this is Connecticut Friends of the State Archaeology group. So they have a lot of pages like this. This is all about, this one's probably not even that bad. This one's about the Connecticut State Archaeologists. There's a bunch of text here, picture with some text. And then they did try to at least break off some of this information into different, this is all HTML. These are HTML tabs, et cetera, et cetera. And then, but if you took all of this together, this would be a really long page, all this information. So I'm like, well, how do I restructure the content so it's easier to read? One thing I could do is break that into different pages. That sort of solves a problem. That introduces a new one of more pages, navigation wise too. That's gonna be a little bit more complicated to navigate. I could add something like a table of contents block. So there's a built-in one. Remind me, Peter. I know there's one. Is there one in Cadence, or is it just one built into WordPress now? I forget. I've used
Both. Both.
both. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've used one for a plugin. Here's another site I did a while ago. This one, this genealogy thing, a ton of information. This is a plugin that does it, so you can jump around. So again, this is one solution. Have a table of contents, but have a giant page of text like this. I would probably restructure this one a little bit differently if I had to do it again. But anyway, that is a solution. But the other one too, which I'm kind of in the middle of now, is reformat the content a bit, keep it as a single page, because I don't want to start introducing more pages. I don't want to start making stuff a little bit wackier. So I'll show you, just for the sake of time, I'll show you kind of where I am with this. And I'm not I'm not married to this. So again, if you see this and you're like, it doesn't look as, there's better ways to do it. But what I did was I took this content, again, this is the HTML content. I saved 100% of it, I think. I dropped a couple things, but so what I tried doing is in this first paragraph is break this text out into something that kind of highlights the themes, or make this makes it a little bit easier to read. So, I took the text, I said, well, here's what that paragraph was talking about, a little bit easier on the eyes. This piece I kept because that's a bio. And then this bottom section here, I played around with this a bit. So rather than doing it as these tabs that you have to click around, and this does not look very good at all on mobile. What I used is, in Cadence, there's this really neat block, the read more block. There is something in Core that's similar to this. The Core one is like the detail block. But what I like about this one in Cadence is you're able to take a big block of text, you can limit the excerpt, and then you click more, and then it blows it out. And it's kind of nice. It has this little visual thing too. You can see that there's more text there. So this is where I am with this page right now. So I'm happy-ish with this. I kept it all in one. I made it a little bit more colorful because I have the pictures of all these people, as opposed to it was just text here before. So I'm making it more readable, yet keeping it in a single page. So that's my that's my solution to this long text thing. I'll just throw that out there for discussion for other folks who've encountered this kind of thing. What would you have done? Would you have broken it apart more? Would you have, used table of contents, or just, done the same? Or
Yes. Yeah. I like table of contents. Can you go back to the page itself?
the original one?
The one you're creating?
Yeah, it's this one. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, I looked up and I saw so we have a lot of pictures of people.
Oh, so that's this bottom section. These are the past state archaeologists here. Yeah, and it's really, this was the magic thing here, is this block. This isn't the pro version of Cadence. It's the read more block, or learn more, I forget whatever it's called. But it's nice because it really is it's kind of an accordion thing, but it gives you a nice preview, and you could set the you can set the text limit on this, and you could do this effect. This is an
Yeah.
effect in there. It's like a fade kind of thing. So you can see that there's more there. So it was a way to like, it's almost like a regular accordion, but specific for
Yeah.
text.
I've done something very similar where it was a whole lot of people in the organization, and they had originally the page was very, very, very long. But by doing it this way, you basically got the main information, that little short kind of, we used an excerpt kind of thing, and
Yeah.
then kind of like if you wanted the full bio, you didn't go out to another page. It was still all managed on the same page.
So this one again, I'll be coming back to the site for other
Yeah,
discussions.
no, that's
I,
great.
I have much more work to do on it. There's another page that's even longer than that one. So anyway, yeah, that's a real world, it's a WordPress problem, kind of, I guess, in terms of solving things. So
We learned about with the table of contents plugins, because I was using that when we were doing a lot of slides. So the links to the slides and the moving between the slides was using the table of contents block in Cadence. The core block, the problem was, and I haven't gone back in a while, but as far as I know, it was the same problem. It was only reading. So what these do is they look for headings.
yeah,
So then the
yeah.
headings get used in the table of contents. The core block only recognized core headings. So if you had anything else that was an H2, H3 in the body that was maybe a cadence block, advanced text that you said this is an H2 or an H3, the table of contents core block ignored it. It didn't see it, as it was only looking for core, the heading block.
This one I forget, and this was what Sue was asked to do. Yeah, so this is another site too where I did use a table. This is not the core one. I forget which plugin this one is. This one works okay. There is some more flexibility to it at times. I found there's times where it gets a little clunky, like sometimes it has a problem where it puts in some blank entries and stuff. So it's not perfect. Like I said, that page I'd probably go back these days and do a little bit different. So
Ray,
yep.
does whatever you're using, Cadence, I guess, does that allow you to have breadcrumbs within a single page, so you could keep an eye at the top of your screen and jump around
Not through
without?
I don't think through breadcrumb. I could do HTML. I could do anchor tags, and that's what they were using previously. Yeah,
Right.
so you can click and jump around.
In the theme, there's a breadcrumb option.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
With Peter, within a page, or page, are the breadcrumbs just page to page?
I think it's across pages. I
Oh,
don't think it's
within
a
a
page.
so
Yeah.
it's sections within a page. No,
Yeah, I think Bob, what you're
it's
referring
where it is in the hierarchy.
Yeah. I could put like just anchor tags on a piece of text or anything, and then you have something on top where they click on it, jumps you down to it too. So that's another. I mean, that's basically what the table of contents thing is doing. I think it's basically like an anchor down.
Yeah, but getting a table of contents is good, but for me, getting back there from a long page is a hassle. So if you, maybe what I've done on some pages is after each item, have an anchor tag to go back to the top. And you can make it easy for your readers to get back to the table of contents if they get too deep in the page.
And there's another setting, I don't know where it is in Cadence, where it's a thing that's on the bottom that will jump you back up to the top of the page as well. Yeah, that's why what I'm trying for this one at least is that the accordion thing just for those bios, it hopefully isn't too bad. But I assume they're going to go down and read the next one anyway, so they don't need to jump to the top of the page. So, but yeah, that's a good thought too of doing the anchors. So more to come. I play this.
I think Cadence has breadcrumbs available in the customizer when you're looking to do posts or archives, where you can turn off meta or turn off or turn on all those breadcrumbs. I think is one of those choices.
Yeah, but I think
that would be archives or posts.
Right, but I think those breadcrumbs, if I'm correct, that's more the parent-child. Those are hierarchical breadcrumbs.
Well, if you're in a post, it would take you back up through the category, back up to the archive.
Yeah, but I think what Bob is saying is, and there might even be on this. Oh, sorry, let me share my screen again. Sorry, I'm hogging this. I think they even do it on one of these pages. Where is it? It's one of these. Sorry.
Is this a Cadence site?
No.
I wasn't sure which demo I was looking at.
Sorry, this one's HTML. This is hardcore old HTML.
You
This
can do
one,
breadcrumbs in a table of contents.
yeah, these guys these were all, nah, it's
But
not that
this
page.
is an old site.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, but there's exactly. I could have done just regular anchor tags and
Can you put a Cadence, any Cadence site up there and go into the customizer?
yes.
Please, please.
1 second. I'll do it right on this one.
I'd like to chime in at some point also.
Sure. Go ahead.
Thoughts on it.
Yep. It's gonna take me
No,
a
no,
minute
let's
to
go
log
ahead.
in.
Let's go ahead and figure out. Sue was
Sure.
trying to pursue a direction here.
Yep.
Man, I like it. Site nice and fast. That site. That's the HTML world, huh?
Which one?
That site came up. Oh, the
not-
site you were just showing, that was like coming up fast, man. That was like HTML, man. Look at that go.
Oh, this old one?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes,
Love
it's
that.
it's all static.
Mhm.
It's a pain to work
If you
on.
go to,
Oh, sorry. So let me go back to the I'll go to customizer here.
and if you go to pages and posts, I think,
Mhm.
and then go to
Like a single page layout.
now go to post. I don't know if pages has it. You see breadcrumbs right there?
Yeah.
You can show breadcrumbs.
Right. That would do it in exactly. So, but that breadcrumb is here in the title. That's this breadcrumb.
You know, that's what Robert was asking about.
I thought he was saying within the actual post itself. So
Oh, you
the
mean to put it in like as a plugin or as
as an
a
anchor.
block?
So for example, I think what I was saying is like, let's say I want to jump down to this section of the page. How could I
Oh,
do
yeah,
that within
you
the
can
same
do that.
page? Yeah, but it'll be
That's
as an HTML anchor to go down to that.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
I misunderstood, I
No,
guess.
I think it was
I
the
want to hear
breadcrumbs.
I want to hear what David's got to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think the view from 10,000 feet here is that there's three big issues. One is what's the user experience. Second thing is what's the SEO and how that's going to perform. And the third thing is its ability to get consumed by the AIs out there and how they'll process it. And I think from a user experience standpoint, you need to consider whether people are on mobile devices or they're, whether they're on desktop devices.
Yeah.
And there's a little varying in that. No matter what, you'd always need to have something above the table of contents, establish what they're going to see on the page. Because if anybody is on a small screen device and then they see a table of contents and they open it up, the overwhelming
It's going to take
information,
up, right.
and on a mobile device, they're going to be doing
Right.
this for quite a while just to get to any content. So
Absolutely.
something above the table of contents will serve you pretty well. And if it didn't seem like that page was like an established read, like I'm going to get to this page, I'm going to try to read it out, because if it is something that is a block of text that should be consumed, it's very helpful to put a reading time for the humans up top, right next to the date of the last update, which also benefits, both of them will benefit SEO as well. So the user experience is going to be a big thing for wall of text, right?
You're right. And the page that I showed, it's not like an article necessarily. So those are two good examples. Yeah, there's another one I have on the other genealogy site. I'll say that for another day, where it really is like a beginner's guide to Polish genealogy. That is a full-blown article of sections and all that. That one probably should have a reading time. This one, this one turned into a big page.
There's relatively easy ways to find out how far people do scroll and when they give up, right? And I think that may inform you for the future, right? If you find that people are only going to be scrolling, a quarter of the way down or a fifth of the way down, you have to start considering that, it's not necessarily the content that's driving them incorrect, right? So there's a generic wisdom to having progressive pages, right? You see a lot of websites that are, the next, but the problem is that you have to build that out. You have to have these, navigations to go back and forth. From an SEO standpoint, one of the big things is that everybody gets a crawl budget. You know what I mean? There's only so much text that's going to be consumed by whatever the SEO crawler is. And if you exhaust a crawl budget with multiple ones of those block pages, it may never do well. But putting headers and anchors on those pages is critical for SEO.
Yeah.
Because if you've probably seen, sometimes you just click on a search in Google and it brings you right down to that exact spot in the thing. That is really beneficial for SEO. And the third thing is that wall of text for AI, for all the AI, the Open AI and Gemini and all these other things, they love wall of text
Yeah.
because it has the relationships. They know it's all related to one subject. They happen to love it. So I would say user experience first at this point, right?
Yeah, and that's a big part too of adding. There's no analytics on the site right now. There's a little bit
Yeah.
on the back end, so that's the whole thing of rebuilding it and connecting it to analytics. So
There's a really beautiful, by the way, I've seen really beautiful user interfaces where there's like a reading progress bar. Like as you're reading, it shows you how far into the article you are. And there's free ones that do that on WordPress. I mean, you don't necessarily want to keep on building and building and building, but as you're scrolling through it, it shows you how far you are on that.
that's
It's kind of like a little sticky thing at the top. It's a very, I think it's called reading. It's like a reading progress
Right.
technique. Really nice for user interface with long pages. So
we did look at, like, I think in the last WordPress release, they did add like reading time, but that one is very like super basic too. So, but yeah, I think that'd be nice, like a progress bar.
You know, the other problem is that if I get to almost any website and it says reading time is over 5 minutes, man, I'm out, you know? I don't even know what the content is. I'm
For
out.
me,
Right?
I'll download it. I'll read it offline.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to offer up user experience.
Yeah.
So key.
Yeah, I tell you, with it's funny you bring that up because I was that reading time block that's out there. I was on the Make thing, kind of arguing against this whole normalization that time work is the same for everybody. You know, that which was
True. Yeah.
you know, oh, this will take you 3 minutes to read.
My Kindle will learn as I'm reading. It says you're reading slow.
Yeah,
It'll
and
tell
that's
you.
okay, right?
Yeah.
But it's much more about. I always like that bar. The progress bar is great when you scroll as it moves, or something that says this is, you know, short, medium, long, or how many words, things like that. That's why there's now a little bit of range. One of the things that I'm really, you're talking about some of the interface stuff that I'm really interested in, even though I'm far from an expert, and this might be a really interesting conversation at some point, is how much you can do with CSS alone right now with the interface. So for example, we're talking about that when you get to a part and scroll back up and all, there are CSS things that know exactly where you are on page and how to, and some really, really cool, like you don't need JavaScript to do things anymore because it's now all part of CSS. And it'll be interesting to see how that is or isn't built into some of the blocks and things, or are we going to be writing CSS again if we want to take advantage of some of those really kind of neat things? So that's going to be interesting to watch too, because yeah, great stuff with
And believe it or not, we're out of time, Peter.
yeah.
It went by. All right, so this is our new format-ish. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I want, please let us know your feedback, definitely too. Let us know on Meetup. Just, you know, we're trying to mix this up because I liked today's thing, and again, it's not all about us, but you know, this is a lot of, I keep going back to, these are the real world WordPress issues. I mean, there's a lot of stuff with the block editor, full site editing, that kind of stuff. But to be honest, a lot of that is also academic in a sense for people. To me, it's this kind of stuff. Like, how do I solve this problem? So we'd like to continue to do this in the future. Give us your feedback. Like I said, we hope everyone will join us again next month. We won't do this, I don't think, every single month, but we'd like to sprinkle this in a little bit more regularly. So thank you for everyone who participated. We definitely appreciate all your inputs, and have a good night. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.